if you mean the basic layout of Trevor having to defend the title, that was first approached. This is October. I would say that may have been first approached 6 months ago. As far as the Final Four, more than a week out, maybe less than 2 weeks out. But, we had a general kind of idea.
Sorry, we were having some audio issues, and that was because OBS was screwing up, so I do apologize. So just to recap, basically we've only asked Grant one question up until now. It was basically pretty much he said that besides Images of the Year, this is pretty much his most daunting task. And we were asking about the Final Four in the Rumble. I got a lot of flack from people in the chat room last week. I think Wrestling God in the chat room, you know who that is, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. He was like, is Kane your son or something? You pick him to win everything. And I was just like, something in my head was sitting there saying, Kane Justice has to be in the Final Four. He's just had too good of a year not to be. And I know that I was like, in my mind, I'm going, I know they're trying to wean him back a little bit. Mid-interview. Yeah, sorry, Sophia. It's going to be mid-interview. I can't start a live broadcast over. So, I will tell you that I'm sitting here thinking about Kane going, I know they're trying to wean him back a little bit, but something tells me that this is going to be like the end of his weaning back period. I mean, I know he still has a ways to go as far as getting to the title, and we could talk a little bit more about it when we get to that part of the Rumble, because I did take a little bit of notes. I didn't take, I didn't do stat mark style notes, but I did take some notes. Go read
the meticulous instructions that I lay out for guys is ridiculous. Stutzy has told me on numerous occasions that we actually ask far more of our guys and what they do in WWE. For one thing, they work the clock in WWE, and we don't work the clock at all.
No.
And trying to orchestrate things, this needs to happen 30 seconds in. This needs to happen 45 seconds in, 75 seconds in. Nothing for 10 seconds, till we hit the buzzer, etc. Rinse and repeat for 30 entries. It's a lot. It's a lot to ask of our guys, and I'm very grateful for everyone that participates, that gets the vision, and more so than any year before, I cannot say thank you enough to Trevor Lee for pulling off what he accomplished this year.
So, I also, and this is pretty much a given. I mean, CWF has kind of gotten to a point where I'm like, so what Sophia said at FanCon on that panel, which is up on the YouTube channel for those who want to hear it in the archives. Cheap plug there. The booking always exceeds my expectations, but I've gotten to the point where I kind of knew, okay, they're teasing the Iron Man thing. Trevor's breaking the record. They're teasing the fact that Trevor's got to be number one. Trevor's winning. And I'll be honest, when I'm sitting there right next to the commentary table, and Grant and Stutzy goes, Trevor Lee has now broken the record. In my mind, I was like, oh, I knew he was breaking the record, but I look over at him, and me and him kind of shared a look a little bit, at each other, because I'm sitting there marking out, going, holy shit, I was actually right. He was actually, he actually broke the record. Some of my things that I picked actually came to fruition.
Right. But this was a situation where it was, with Trevor having to be number one, it was one of those things that it would be an easy pick, as far as breaking the record. Maybe not winning, but breaking the record. And just for the record, I hate this particular style of Rumble where you have that babyface champion has to start and they got to run the table and all that kind of stuff. I think it's one of the most difficult Rumbles to have to book, and without the crowd crapping on the babyface at the end because they're either sick of them or the babyface has taken a sabbatical too many times in the match. Obviously, what they did with the Roman Reigns a few years back was ridiculous, even though he didn't win, but still the basic premise and the layout was atrocious. And I'm very happy with this year's. It's probably one of my proudest things I've ever been involved with, to be able to pull it off to such a satisfying degree to so many people.
There was a question in FanCon that I believe it was Sophia that asked, about that same booking question about, going ahead and pulling the trigger on what the fans expect. Giving them it's that in CWF WWE all the time gets crapped on for being too predictable and he's the top guy, he's Vince's pick, Roman Reigns is Vince's pick, so we're gonna crap all over him. But in CWF and there was a question at FanCon or an answer at FanCon that Stutzy gave was with going all the way back to the Weaver Cup with Chet winning that we knew, or at least I knew, once Kane got eliminated I was like, all right, that's it, Chet's winning. So it's not about...
but it's so easy to say that kind of stuff after the fact.
Yeah.
It's not always about just the who won. It's that story of getting there.
Exactly.
And, with the Chet and the Weaver Cup thing, we took you on such a story that it made you forget that it was predictable to start with.
That's why that brings me to my point here is that when I heard Stutzy answer that way at FanCon, he gave the exact same answer you just gave. It's how you get there. It's
right.
You can make it unpredictable, even though it is quote unquote predictable. Nothing in CWF is predictable, really. But my thing is that I knew from the second that answer was given, I'm like, okay, tomorrow's going to be freaking special, and it was. So kudos to both you guys, man. It was. Hey,
and I just want to say one thing. Trevor was never booked to break the record. Like that you say that's pretty, but that was not the plan. If you do the math, at 90-second intervals, the number 30 entry comes out at the 42-minute mark, and Sharp's record was slightly over 50 minutes.
Right.
So it was totally with Trevor, a lot of it's like we just trust him, and if that match had ended around the 50-minute mark, I would have been more than fine with that. So it's not like it was designed for Trevor to break the record, but he did as a result of what happened. That said, I'll give a little teaser for something a couple weeks down the road. Ethan Sharp actually had some words to say after the Rumble, which we taped that night, which have not been seen yet, which is possibly one of my favorite promos of the entire year. Wow. Will not air next week, but in a couple of weeks, we will revisit that interview, and it touches on the whole Iron Man thing.
Let me ask you about Trevor, because you touched on a good point of, Trevor went that far, and it sounds like the theme that I got from FanCon weekend and asking different talents and asking you and Stutzy about Trevor, it almost sounds, I don't want to say this, but I will say it. I don't want to put it this way, but I guess that there's really no other way to put it. It almost sounds like to a point Trevor Lee pretty much has creative control around that place. Like, he's the loose ends of that place. He ain't dropped the damn title till he's ready to. Is that a pretty fair assessment?
It's fair to a certain extent, but if Stutzy or Stutzy and myself really felt that it was time to drop the title, and Trevor did not necessarily agree with it, we would debate it. We'd go back and forth on it, and we listen to his side of it. But in the end, I think Trevor would do what we asked him to do.
Yeah.
But there's just a mutual respect between all three of us.
Right. And there's a mutual respect between Trevor in that locker room. You could definitely tell that over the weekend that from what I've seen. He's the leader. So
there's not a single person that walks into the locker room that doesn't respect Trevor and for what he's done for the entire company.
As well they should. Sophia Moon in the chat room, in regards to quote, "We just trust him," I heard Trevor ribbed you pretty stiff Rumble Day. Care to elaborate on that?
I was going to save that for next year's FanCon.
Okay. You can if you want to.
Hey, look, I was nervous from the get-go when Trevor took that booking in Chicago on Friday night.
Oh, man. So, I'm guessing the rib was my plane got delayed.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the short version of it.
Oh, man.
It was coming, though. That's the thing. It's like, if I'm in his position, you have to pull that rib. But even though in your mind it's a rib, you still have to go ahead and prepare just in case it's not a rib.
Yes, exactly.
So we we rebooked the entire. Well, we didn't have to really rebook it from scratch, but we rebooked the Rumble the afternoon of the show.
Wow, that's that probes a question that I know I'm not going to get an answer to, so I'll skip it.
You are correct, and no, I would not
answer
it.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter really in the grand scheme of things because he made the show.
Right.
This Rumble right here, I'll be honest with you. I'm sitting there in the third row and I'm marking out like freaking crazy, as was everybody in that building that night. At one point, I'm sitting here going back and forth to this finish, going, are they really going to freaking give it to Kane tonight? Are they really going to make me cry when Kane wins the damn belt? Because I've been championing for this guy ever since the after show started, since before the after show started. And I'm literally got goosebumps on my arms during some of these spots. And then there's times where I go, nah, Trevor's winning it. Trevor's winning it. Two seconds later, I'm going, oh shit, is Kane doing it? I'm assuming that started to be the vibe throughout the building, because I have written down here during the finish, and I hate to keep comparing stuff to this match this year, but it almost got to be a Chip Day, Trevor Lee vibe, where that crowd, half of that crowd, almost over half of that crowd, flipped and started chanting for Kane during the end of that match.
I think people just want to see history get made, though.
Yeah.
They want to be there for that moment.
They'll be there for that moment at Battlecade, I have a feeling. It's not going to be Kane, but there'll be a moment at Battlecade this year. It's what you build up to, as you know, it's the big show. But
you get caught up in what's happening in front of you right now, and you want to see history now. You don't want to see history 2 months from now.
Exactly. It's like, are we going to be here for this moment? Am I going to be here for this moment? No, okay. And then I'm like, oh no, wait, this is probably going to happen, you know. That's why I enjoyed sitting behind Bruce Mitchell, because Bruce Mitchell was like, you know, Bruce Mitchell at times was paying more attention to the commentary. The commentary was like the greatest commentary I've ever freaking heard, man, in this Rumble. It was so good.
Those guys are pretty good.
More than pretty good. They were. I wish I had cough drops for those guys, to be honest with you, because they lost their voice during the first match. I mean, I'm sitting.
Yeah, honestly, I've done my share of commentary off and on over the years, and I wish I could carry a broadcast the way those two carry a broadcast. It is unbelievable to me, and as I will put Stutzy and Cecil up there with Gorilla and Bobby, or whatever combination you want to come up with. I think that highly of them.
Somebody said, "No, Joe, your son was not going to win." every time I reference to being Kane's son, Kane is just like, Kane just got freaking crazy, man. He didn't like it at all.
Look, Kane's my son. Kane is Trevor's son. Kane is Trip Cassidy's son. Kane is the son of many people.
Mm-hmm. He kept referencing Kane. He kept referencing Trip Cassidy whenever I would mention it on Twitter. Let me see. I'm still mad I missed Marcellus King losing the title at an Omega show. Yeah, that's pretty crazy to lose it at an Omega show and not be there for it. That's pretty crazy.
The only title switch we've ever had that I was not there for.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I kind of got a sneak peek at Dr. Dan's entrance when y'all were kicking us out of the Sportatorium.
Right.
Behind the scenes note, I'm sitting there interviewing Nick Richards, and JB is coming up to me going, "You got to wrap this shit up. Grant's kicking us out of here now." So me and JB and Johnny P, we all got kicked out of the Sportatorium. But as we're getting kicked out, I saw Dr. Dan with the hoverboard. Did you know beforehand? Did you tell him beforehand, "Hey, bring your hoverboard because this is what I have planned"? Because that was very unique, and it really popped me in person when I saw that. It was really funny.
Oh, he knew the spot on June 25th.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Big, yeah.
Wrestling.
That's all him. That's all Dr. Dan.
Wrestling.
I mean, he came up. It was his creation, and we just added the element with Trevor. For the actual elimination.
Right.
But like the tease of the elimination is all Dr. Dan.
And the fact that he did it not once but twice, and then the second time ended up with the penalty kick, that was just freaking amazing. It's so unique. I And Dr. Dan was just way over this weekend. I was so happy that he was part of that show.
He's the best. I wish he'd move down here.
Man, I wish he was on every CWF show. He'd be it's so amazing. He's Mike Mars is another guy that I want to talk about here. This guy, not only is he a good worker, he's a good artist. If you're not following Mike Mars on Twitter to see some of his art, his artwork, you need to, because it's pretty amazing stuff.
I think it's in his Twitter profile, but he graduated from the Kubert School of Art.
I think so. Let me check here. But while I'm checking here, this is a guy who is going to be, man, he's in the RGL, right? He's rising generationally.
Yes, he's very young.
Yeah, he's Army veteran and a Kubert School grad. So,
young in the business. He's actually probably wise beyond his years, but he's been through some stuff as far as his in-ring, training and whatnot. He's very young in the business.
I will say he doesn't tweet that much. His last tweet was retweeting me on September 25th. But oh man, we do now know that the RGL the tournament's gonna be a part of Worldwide, correct? From what Grant was saying on commentary,
that is the current plan. At least some version of it. Maybe even if entire matches do not air, we will at least do some kind of package recap. But I if all goes well, I'd like to air the entire tournament.
I'm gonna say it right now. Mike Mars is my pick to win that tournament. If he's in it, Mike Mars is my pick to win it, because that guy showed he spine busted Mecha Mercenary and eliminated Mecha Mercenary single-handedly. That's pretty damn impressive in and of its own self. And he's another guy from Boogie's camp.
One of those phrases that Stutzy uses a lot, and I love, is that whether it's the Rumble or whether it's just another match, it doesn't matter if you're in there for 30 seconds. You have to maximize your minutes. Get the absolute most out of the time while you're in there. And I think Mike Mars, Mecha Mercenary, Ray Kandrak, there were a lot of guys in this year's Rumble that did a tremendous job of maximizing their minutes. Maybe they weren't in there for 20 minutes, but they made just as big of an impression in the short amount of time that they were in there.
I'll put it this way, Cool J. We ribbed on Cool J a lot during FanCon weekend, but Cool J at entry number 16, his drop kicks impressed me. I'm sitting there looking at him going, I know they ribbed the shit out of him, and I know they make fun of him a lot, but this kid has pretty damn good drop kicks. And, Mars did a pop-up headbutt on him, and he was eliminated rather quickly, but Ray
Kandrak threw Cool J into...
Yeah, that was next on the list, that, Kandrak eliminated Cool J, just literally threw him over the top rope. Kandrak coming back.
Looks like Michael Jackson holding that baby over the guardrail.
That's the quote of the show. If the show shuts down right now, that's a good ending. Talk a little bit about Kandrak coming back, and that he's retired now, but it's pretty damn special when we do see Kandrak back in that building.
I mean, one of the most genuine feel-good moments I've ever had in wrestling. Like, I loved it. It was perfect. Ray is still one of the baddest men to ever step foot in the squared circle. I wish he had more exposure, especially back in the Mid-South territory, because Bill Watts would have been in absolute love with him. Great human being, incredible family. I cannot say enough things about Ray Kandrak and how much that moment meant, not just to me, but to a lot of people.
I'll be honest with you, I wasn't expecting it. That's one of those names where it was like, it was definitely a surprise and a joy to see him back in the ring and back in that building. Let me see here. Dave Dawson comes in at number 18, but we do not get no Zane Dawson. Is it just one of those cases where too many wrestlers, not enough numbers?
Number 18 is Osiris.
18 was not Osiris.
Oh, no, it was.
Or it was supposed to be Osiris. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's just,
Okay. Here's the rib. Osiris, pretty unreliable. why even pencil him in if you know he's not going to show? Like, at this point, enough has got to be enough of this guy.
No, because, well, you are told that he's coming, but you've been down this road before, so I mean, it's not like there was any. It was constructed so nothing would change when he did not show.
You had the backup plan already in place.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the sheet literally said X-Cyrus / Dawson. You know, like.
Thank you for that. I love when Grant like spills the beans on the behind the scenes stuff. It's great. It's what this show is here for, kind of.
I mean, I'll give you a little bit now and then.
I'm still waiting for that X-Cyrus Smith Garrett thing. Smith Garrett. No Smith Garrett in the Rumble.
Well, no, Smith. I mean, the Logan thing was a shoot with the X-rays and whatnot.
Right. I mean, I pretty much kind of knew that, but it's still, to me, you know, a surprise not to see him at least be a little bit of a surprise entrant and just come in and get thrown out. But the concussion thing was before he won the Rumble a couple years ago. That all was a shoot too.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, this was the next thing is even more serious than the concussion.
Ethan Sharp eliminating Michael McAllister, looking at the camera going, I took from McAllister again. The spot looked 10 times, I will say this, the spot looked good in person, but the spot looked 10 times better on camera because you can't see Trevor coming. And he's sitting there cutting that promo, and all of a sudden, whoop, back he goes. It was so
straight out of a horror movie right there.
Exactly. He snatched his ass up, and it just kudos to you for capturing that. That was so good.
And that was just one of those on the fly things. You know, that wasn't a called spot or anything.
Oh, I'm sure it didn't come off as a called spot. It came off as, you know, very, very improv.
Yeah, everyone, like, you know, Ethan saw the moment to do the camera thing. Trevor saw the moment to mess up Ethan, and it just all, you know, it was just a beautiful little nugget there that we got.
You want to see someone with a broken neck get tossed over the top rope? No, I don't, Sophia. The problem is it was a surprise to me not to see. You know, to be honest, I forgot about the X-ray thing. You know, so it was one of those things when I said no Smith Garrett in the Rumble. Then you had, you know, Grant had to remind me of that. You know, so that's why we have Grant on here to pick his brain about the Rumble.
I mean, hopefully Smith Garrett can do some more stuff in the future. But as of right now, that was not on the table.
And then, to be honest, I thought that was one of Smith Garrett's way more emotional moments on Worldwide. You know, when that all came out, I think I even said that night that was he you know, that was a shoot, and he sold it like that. You know, so.
Oh yeah, I mean, Smith Garrett's Rumble win is probably one of the most top 5 most emotional moments in company history.
It was my first Rumble. I was sitting.
Pretty good one.
Yeah, it was. I was sitting right there in the same spot as I was last weekend, or 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago? A week ago? I don't know. My mind is a blur right now, folks. I've started working for Comcast again. My brain is mush right now. I remember me and my friend Robert just cutting up and doing silly-ass chants, popping Katie in the front row. She was laughing her ass off at us. Jesse Adler comes in at number 26, and him and Kane immediately started going at it. And I love this, you know, I love the fact that they're sitting there going, while Jesse was out, Kane was on the rise, and Kane kind of, you know, took his spot. And not to talk WWE here, but it reminds me of when Austin was out and the rise of Triple H, kind of, you know.
But then earlier on the undercard, Adler wins the title, Kane loses his. There was a bunch of wonderful symmetry in that little moment.
Yes, and it's just it's one of these things that I love about CWF is that I know and like you said, like you tweeted at me earlier this week, there's nobody stuck in limbo coming out of that Rumble. Coming out of that show. And I have faith in you guys that there's not going to be anybody stuck in limbo or forgotten about. Like, I know that Eric Andrews is going to go on to do something great. He's not just going to flounder now that he's lost that TV title.
Right.
And I know that that's
a big thing too, you know, once somebody's been on top for so long, if they drop a title, you don't want them to just fall off a cliff. You want to have like a backup plan and a direction to take them, so they don't just wander around in limbo, because that's doing a disservice to that person as well. Now they have to, everyone has to go ups and downs, the peaks and valleys, but you want to respect all these guys and give them something to sink their teeth into.
I get criticized a lot for wanting to book ahead too much with CWF, and that I have to constantly be reminded that it's a quote unquote indie fed, and that you never know when somebody's going to pull an Osiris, and so how far in I don't know if I've asked you this, I may have, but how far in advance now are you guys? And I should have asked this at the panel, because great bookers, it's been said that great bookers start off in the future, book backwards. How much of that can you guys do, or do you do that at all?
Yeah, we book back. I mean, we generally want to have the Battlecade main event 6 months out or so. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes, situations dictate that we have to piece it together a little bit later than that. But we want, we'd like to have, say, by the time Battlecade happens, we want to have that Absolute Justice main event for next year, kind of in mind.
We're sitting out there. I remember we were sitting out there after you kicked us out of the Sportatorium. It was me, I want to say Dan, Sophia was there, and Johnny P. And we're talking about the big shows. And Sophia, she goes, these are the big four. And I looked at Johnny P and I was like, is that crazy that we're saying that about an indie fed, the big four?
Right.
And I just kind of had a mark out moment right there. I'm just like, these guys do have a big four. So
yeah. I hate that 3 of our 4 though come October, November, December. That's the only bad part, and that's just kind of the way it. It wasn't originally like that way back when, but now that everything has developed, that's just what it's become.
And me and us 4 were sitting there talking about that, like, you got the Rumble, you got Ultimate Survivor, you got Battlecade. And then the next one would have to be Absolute Justice after that, all the way in June. There's really nothing between December and June, with good reason, because you need that kind of.
And I mean, and there will obviously be some big stuff happening in that time frame.
Right.
But
I mean, and then we got into an argument of, do you count the Weaver Cup finals night as a big one?
Yeah, I think you can include 5. That one.
You got your big 5 now, and then so now it's like big 5. They have kind of like the big 5, and I'm just sitting there going, what other indie event in the country, or what other indie promotion in the country can you say they got a big 4 or a big 5? You can't name one.
Well, I think some people would say PWG has a
continuity though. Come on, man.
4 or 5.
Come on, man. They don't carry over from one to the next. Me and you were talking about that off air before we came on. They don't interweave with each other. I could go back.
But they are a fine storytelling promotion. What are you talking about?
Super Dragon. Anyway. Just check out Stutzy's Twitter, folks.
I'm actually not a PWG hater at all. But,
I'm not.
I gotta have a little bit of fun with it.
I'm not either, but it's like one of those things where it's not episodic, and one thing doesn't carry over into the other. I like episodic wrestling. I like for every little thing to mean something from one show to the next. And it may not be the next show. It may be 3 or 4 shows before something goes, aha, like tonight. I'm sitting here going, why isn't Smith Garrett in the Rumble? And I need somebody to remind me, oh, okay, he's legit injured, End of an Era has potential to be a big show earlier in the year. Yeah, it did. It really did.
It has kind of elevated itself over the last few years. Yeah, I'll go along with that. It might be the what would that be? Early spring, late winter, early spring super show.
It's there's like 3 or 4. The thing about the you guys is, though, I think it's to put a bow on it is that you guys have, I hate this term, but you guys have super cards every so often that are blow offs, because you got to have that big blow off every now and then to not only recharge your creative batteries, but recharge the audience's batteries. And like I said, they got to have that little bit of a cool down period in the winter and the spring.
And I think, I mean, I don't want to just get going on random shows, but I think a lot of the boys look as forward to Battle Bowl as they do any show because since it's a legitimate shoot.
Are we gonna? I gotta ask this now that we're on just crazy shows. Are we gonna see another '80s night, or was that just like a one and done?
Well, we bought the curtains, so it doesn't have to be one and done. God, I'd have to wear that blasted jumpsuit and sweat my butt off again.
I was gonna say the boiler suits have to come back.
You know, I think I would revisit it.
It's the only time
I
of the
wouldn't
year
do
where
it
you have
more
a hard
than once
cam.
a year, if even that. It was a really fun show, but I think with some concept shows that the act can run thin if you ran them too often.
Right.
Which, ironically enough, would be a fine time to plug next week because CWF Worldwide will not air on Wednesday next week. It will air on Tuesday because Tuesday is Halloween night. So CWF Worldwide's Halloween special will air on Tuesday night next week.
Do I got to pull double duty next week or is there going to be a show at all next Wednesday?
No,
Okay.
we are not doing back-to-back days of shows. It's just going to air on Tuesday and it's not. If you remember the Christmas special last year, it was a way over the top produced gimmick show, which I absolutely love.
Beautiful.
It's one of my favorite shows we've done.
Mine too.
The Halloween show will not be as souped up as that one was, so I don't want to set expectations too high. But there's enough little elements, and we have some fun, and there's some stuff people will pop for, and I just think it would be best to air on Halloween night for that one.
So is that that's an RGL episode, isn't it?
Yeah, it was we veterans come out for these things too, but technically it is an RGL episode.
Can't wait to see what CL dressed up as. Anyway, so
I think you will be pleased.
I'm never disappointed. That's the thing. Rule number 1 has now been done on the show this week. So now I guess the after show is coming live Tuesday night. So there you have it, folks. Go out, get your candy, come home, have your mom inspect it while you watch Worldwide. There you go. That's what you do.
There you go.
So Halloween night, I will be. Is it 9 p.m. still?
Yeah, it's still 9 o'clock.
Okay.
It'll be like a normal hour long. I haven't finished editing, but it'll be a normal hour long.
You haven't finished editing? No, he's slacking, folks.
Come on, man.
I'm kidding.
I just did a Rumble. Give me a break.
I'm kidding. Also, there's a show this coming Saturday at the Sportatorium. Some matches for that have been announced. We'll get back into the Rumble here in a second, folks. I will promise you here. Those Halloween decorations were the shit, says McAllister in the chat room.
Hey, he did all he could.
Hey, the CWF sign is no longer hanging in the entryway, so come on. I missed that sign being there.
Well, for the Halloween show, there was some gimmick there.
There you go. I did like I think it was somebody posted a picture of the entryway lit up in all red with all the lights cut off. That was freaky looking as hell. I like that.
Right.
So they've announced here for this coming Saturday. I'm going to try to be there. It's CL Party's birthday this Saturday, folks. So come along, say hello, say happy birthday to CL. Eric Royal is taking on Chet Sterling.
A main event anywhere in the country.
That's right.
I'm not being facetious when I say that. Legitimately, that match should be fantastic.
It is going to be awesome. Aaron Biggs and Mecha Mercenary who are the Sandwich Squad. They're taking on Mike Mars and Otto Schwanz. That's another one I'm looking forward to. You got Big Otto in there teaming up with the rookie. That's crazy.
Things with Otto and Cutshaw didn't work out very well, so we're going to see how Mike Mars paired up with Otto does.
So we got also in a match that also should be crazy. Nick Richards is making his return, his non-Rumble return to Worldwide here. He's taking on the Fury, Michael McAllister.
It's a fascinating match to me because both of those guys are really like almost in the crossroads of their careers right now.
That is a fascinating match. You know, you got Richards coming off of Absolute Justice. You got Michael McAllister coming off of losing the mask and joining up with Cross. So I'm assuming Cross will be at ringside for that one as well. That is an interesting pairing. VIP.
I will say about that. I don't think Cross will necessarily always be at ringside with McAllister because I don't think he necessarily wants to hold his hand. I think he wants McAllister to accomplish some of it on its own. I'm not saying he wouldn't be at ringside, but it also wouldn't surprise me if he wasn't.
So I'm assuming VIP tickets are still available, correct?
Yes.
It's going to be down to the wire if I get my tickets. Literally, it's going to be cash the paycheck Saturday morning and quickly buy my tickets before y'all take them off sale online.
I mean, if worst comes to worst, you can buy them at the door.
Well, I learned my lesson a long time ago at Battlecade last year when I got put in the back corner of the building that I will always buy my ticket online.
Well, I didn't know who you were then, Joe. I'll try to take better care of you if I see that name pop up now.
Oh, man. Well, it's not always my name. Sometimes my girlfriend buys them with her deal, but I will say that Battlecade, we ended up having to go grab chairs from the far corner of the building and put them in the corner. I tell the story all the time. I'm sitting there next to a guy who claims to be a fire marshal from the next town over, and he's like, yeah, we would shut this shit down if it was in my area. But y'all were packing them in like cordwood that night. Let me tell you what.
Oh, yeah.
A good fart would have given you a concussion in the Sportatorium. That's how packed in they were, folks. Go back and watch it. Let's get back to the Rumble here. Kane making Trevor Lee tap. Me and Johnny P jumped out of our skin almost when we saw that happening. And granted,
that was a little moment there, wasn't it?
Granted, it was on the ropes, and it was an illegal tap out, and it was in the Rumble, but he still made the champion tap out. That's pretty freaking crazy, you know.
It seems like it'd be a pretty big talking point if, you know, we ever need to bring that up again.
Really big talking point, you know, maybe submission match down the line. Oh, well.
You're jumping several levels here, Joe.
I'm jumping several years.
Let's just get a match, and you're already trying to add like layers of stipulations to it.
We need stipulations. We can be a little bit like Memphis every now and then. I was the one that started the ladder match thread a couple weeks back. So, and then one tweet just spurred into a crazy ass conversation at FanCon. It was remarkable.
Have you watched the match yet?
I haven't had time. I need to. I just the GIF I saw of it makes me want to watch it with the Benny Hill theme playing in the background. So,
but you don't know the finish, right?
No, I don't.
Okay, do not get. I mean, the match is only however many a decade old, so try not to get spoiled by the finish. You gotta watch it unspoiled. Somebody
linked me to it, and I clicked on it, but I haven't went back and watched it. So if somebody could link me to that again on Twitter, I'd be most grateful.
It's CWF. It's our YouTube, and just type in AWA Showcase. It's the entire show, and I think the ladder match may start like an hour in or something like that.
Gotcha. So I was kind of confused with the AWA thing, and that did get brought up at FanCon. That was the AWA that was ran by that idiot up north, right? That was trying to get something started. Is it the same one that I'm thinking of?
I say Dale Gagne, but he's not an actual Gagne. But yeah, that guy, yeah.
Man, it's crazy to believe that you guys would ever be a part of something like that. But anyway.
Well, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we didn't really lose anything. I mean, there may have been some money lost at some point, but we didn't really lose anything. I mean, I'm sure he took a lot of other people for a lot more than what he took us for.
It begs the question of, you know, a lot of stuff with, you know, you guys are now with PWI, and I don't want to ask it, but it's in the news here lately with the NWA starting up. I'm assuming CWF will never join that NWA thing. I mean, I know never say never in the wrestling business, but I just can't ever see that happening.
No, that's not happening.
Okay, good.
I mean, we can put an end to that right
now. Kane has really good facials in this match. I love Kane Justice's facials. It's kind of hard not to grimace though when somebody's legit clawing and chopping your freaking chest.
I was going to say, I think we would all have good facials in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that I have here is the headbutts. I was not a fan of this, and I just because
I'm not either.
Just when I'm sitting in the third row and I could hear heads cracking together in the ring.
Yeah.
It was like, it made me wince. It really did. It just, oh man. And I'm just sitting there going, he's only 21, maybe 22. Please don't give him a concussion this early in his life, and you don't need one either, Trevor. So it's like, we'd like to have you guys back next show. We don't need to be carting you off to the hospital.
Well, as we saw with the whole Shibata thing, a lot of times the guy delivering the headbutt is actually the one that gets hurt as even more than the guy receiving it.
Sophia says the NWA isn't doing the affiliate things anymore. Not yet. I mean, you got to have, if you're doing an NWA thing, you got to have more than just the champion traveling around, in my opinion.
I mean, it's such a non-issue for us.
It is. Especially when they, never mind, I ain't going there. But the deal where Trevor does like I call it the toe break, that sound. That sound gets me every time. I don't know how he makes that, how that sound is made. I don't want to know how it's made. But I will say it's one of those things in wrestling that just makes you cringe every time you hear it. There's a spot in the match where Kane has to put his knee back into place, and I can shed a little bit of light on this if I remember correctly. Kane's double jointed, right? Stats quiet.
No, I mean
Stat mark's quiet.
No, I'm not even trying to kayfabe or anything. That's like, I know Kane fairly well. Is he double jointed? I mean, maybe to some degree, but
I'll tell you off air.
Brother's knee was definitely dislocated.
I'll tell you off air where I found out that he was double jointed.
I don't know if I want to hear this story.
I'll tell you off air. There's a video I've seen where Kane says, "I'm double jointed" to somebody. That's all I'll say. And they two people have him.
I mean, he may have. I just know Brother wasn't doing a whole lot of walking this week.
He wasn't doing much after the match either, except for catching his breath and drinking a couple well-deserved brews. 1 hour, 3 minutes, 20 seconds. Kane is sitting there selling it, even though he's just gotten 1 fucking second. I was 1 fucking second away. Just. Man, that kid, I've been putting him over all year. He's my Kurt Angle of CWF, in my opinion. I know he's not ever going to be booked that way, but he's just had one hell of a year. I mean, and not just him. If you go back to last week, Dirty Daddy's had a hell of a year. If you go from Rumble to Rumble, Dirty Daddy's had a hell of a year. Eric Andrews has had a hell of a year, So there's a ton of people in this promotion, if you just go from the span of last year's Rumble to this year's Rumble, that have just gone to a completely different level in the promotion. And the fans, too. I mean, we're sitting there after the match. There's hugs between the fans. There's hugs between the crew. This was one of those shows that were just like, yeah, we fucking did it. We fucking got them. Would you think that's, fair to say?
Well, if you saw me in the ring right after I fade to black, I basically do my primal football scream yes, which I hardly ever do. I'm very conscious of not getting caught up in the moment and thinking that was the greatest ever or anything like that, because that gets overplayed a lot in today's day and age. But when that match ended, I knew that it was special. And 10 or 20 years from now, of all the stuff we do that gets looked back on, I think this one will stand the test of time very, very well.
Y'all just posted an hour ago. Trevor Lee is going to be there this Saturday as well. He's issuing an open challenge. So who's going to answer the open challenge this Saturday?
Good Lord, what can he do after the Rumble?
After the Rumble? Hey. It has only been 2 weeks. So
man, I mean, he might be right for the pickings this Saturday.
Well, there's no more golden ticket, that's for sure.
That's true.
So
well, I guess we're going to have to find a new golden ticket person before long.
The Roy Wilkins thing of him being in and out and the All-Stars getting foiled and them coming back and cracking him with the brass knucks, just from a storytelling standpoint, I don't think it could have went any better than that. It's like They they get the rug pulled out from under them yet again, and it was just. It reminds me of the Coyote and the damn Roadrunner, and not in that comical sense, but the freaking Coyote has ordered everything from Acme he possibly could, or so you think, and he keeps hitting that wall or keeps going down that canyon and going poof, each and every time. But the thing is, the All-Stars being the Coyote, that's what you live for. You live to see them get that, hit that false wall. You live to hit them that Acme, thing go awry. It was beautifully done this year, man. Beautifully done. The double stomps that he hits with Kane with, that third one you could tell legit connected in his face. That was freaking crazy.
Are you talking about the actual finish?
No, there was a spot where before the handshake.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, before the handshake, I'm sitting there going, okay, he blocked the first one, he blocked the second one, and even there live, I'm sitting there going, yeah, the third one connected pretty damn well. So, I just got to say, again, to you and Stutzy, thank you guys so much for that whole weekend. Thank you so much for the Rumble. Thank you for one hell of a show in general. I've stopped trying to pick a top 5 this year. This year for you guys has been freaking remarkable. And you got your work cut out for you this year with images. You said it last year that you think you had your work cut out for you. I don't know where you would start.
Guys say, I'll receive a text from Nick about July or August of every single year reminding me of how long images is going to be. It's like clockwork. And, I'm going to try to do it in 9 minutes. If it hits 13, it hits 13. But, God, I want it to be under 10, but it's almost impossible at this point.
For this year, yeah. I think it was CL put out that images is going to be like an hour or something like that. And I was like, or 90 minutes. I was like, it's probably going to be 100 if you include stuff just from FanCon, which you said won't make it in there.
Well, but it's not. FanCon's not a visual.
Not a visual thing. But
if I could pull audio clips of Lee Valiant's story time, that would be great. But that doesn't really fit into the context of images.
Well, I mean, there's photos out there. There's one of me and Mecca, but I'm not included in images. I don't want to be included in images. No way. Nobody wants to see my fat ass on the Sawyertron. But I will just say thank you guys for giving us the access that you did.
We love doing it, man. Genuinely, I can't tell you how appreciative we are of the support and the love that everybody showed that whole weekend.
I will say also thank you to Coach Jim and I for going out and getting the food from Little Italy. It's some of the best Italian food. It was damn good chicken parm. That shit was good. That's all I'll say.
Chicken parm was okay. Cannot believe you put over that bread. Bread was garbage.
The bread was all right. Dude, you should see some of the crap the quote-unquote Italian restaurants serve you down here. That bread was like homemade compared to some of the stuff they have down here.
See, I think Little Italy has some pretty good food, but they stopped taking my restaurant.com coupons a few years ago, and I've had heat with them ever since.
Ooh, got to take them coupons. Next year, if Grant had his way, it would be catered by Cookout, which would be freaking amazing. Cookout, do they
think about this?
Yeah, think about it.
Like I need an in.
Like, all right, if FanCon's in October, though, how do we persuade them to give us watermelon milkshakes? That's.
I mean, the cheerwine milkshakes will be a fine sub.
Mm-hmm. If they can make it right for you.
Well.
Any last words tonight? We're going to go ahead and leave it there. I got to say, guys, I know I didn't give you a normal show this week because it's the Rumble. You're lucky I wrote down anything at all. I did write down entry numbers and everything, but I wasn't about to go through all of them. The Rumble is one of those shows where I would just be sitting here quoting you stats, and that's Grant's job. Hence, why he's at StatMark on Twitter. So, any last words for us before we end it?
No, I just can't thank everybody enough for that entire weekend. It was one of the greatest, most emotional weekends I've ever had in professional wrestling, and I shot my first show in 1995. So, been around it for a long time, and that weekend meant a lot. When you see something get pulled off to that extent, it makes you're like a proud father seeing a project like that come to life and be so well executed. And obviously, Brad Stutz is a freaking genius. Him and Cecil, the best commentary team ever. Trevor Lee just knocked it out of the park. I cannot thank him enough for everything. And the 29 other guys that made that match so very, very special. There were so many great individual moments that were created that night that I will never, ever forget.
I got an inside question for you before we hear. Well, not an inside question, but Michael Yamaha seemed kind of very happy afterwards. And I even asked him, I was like, you think you got bit by the bug again? And he said, yeah. I'm hoping we see more of him.
Yeah, that was my biggest fear of the night, that Yamaha would want to come back.
I honestly, after seeing, because I'm not a guy, I can't sit there and go back through everything. So I really haven't seen a whole lot of him. But seeing him live, just what little bit I saw him in the Rumble, didn't look like he missed a beat.
I love Yam. The CWF was built around Yam for probably the first 2 years or so, 2-3 years before Rick Converse really came of age and became the focal point. So it was Yamaha followed by Converse, maybe not followed directly by Trevor, but they're definitely the cornerstones of the company over the years.
I'll tell you one cornerstone that I heard coming up a lot, and you can go back on my interviews here on the channel and just hear it, was Corey Edsel. That guy's name came up everywhere. I don't think I've ever met the man, but he's pretty much one of the cornerstones of that place too.
Corey was in that during that Yamaha Converse period. Corey, was our first real long-running heavyweight champion, and for his size, absolutely one of the greatest athletes that I've ever seen.
I'm just talking about from a behind-the-scenes standpoint and from a locker room influence. There wasn't an interview that I did or a person that I talked to that didn't mention him and that didn't put him over. So
Corey was so incredibly, incredibly special. If his body had held up, the sky was the absolute limit. And
if you want to hear the story about how Corey got signed by WWE, check it out here on the channel. We're going to leave it right there, folks. Again, Grant, thank you so much for joining me here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
And we'll see you Tuesday, folks. I hope to see you this week at the Sportatorium this Saturday.